Okay, good evening, Littleton. Welcome to the May 13th, 2024 Select Board meeting. This evening, we're going to start off in executive session, so if we could have the motion, please.
Move the Select Board vote to enter into executive session number 2 pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Sections 21A2, to conduct strategy in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, police and fire. The Select Board will adjourn to executive session and will reconvene in open session after the executive session.
Second.
By Mark, seconded by Matthew. We'll do a roll call vote. Chuck?
I'm in favor.
Mark?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Matthew?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. We'll be back in approximately 10 to 15 minutes. Thank you.
With the multiplier, that means...
All right, Littleton, welcome back. You're out of executive session and ready to start our normal meeting. We'll start with the organizational and pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That does feel weird sitting on the side.
Our post-town meeting hangover. So we're here this evening. We have a fairly light agenda. We'll be going over a reorganization. We will appoint our board members to the reshuffling of the board for the upcoming year. We had 2 items on the agenda that are going to be moved to our next meeting. It would be the recognition of a few individuals in town and also the Director of Elder Human Services Department about the naming of the new senior center. They have asked that we move it to the next meeting as well because they just met today, and they all wanted to be here when we discussed that. So those 2 items come off, and then so our next item after the Select Board reorg discussion is discuss prospective chairs committee meetings, adopt a code of conduct. We want to talk about next steps with the Nagog Hill Orchard. I know we've all got ideas, but we'll get into some details on that, get the ball rolling. Public hearing, we have proposed amendments to regulations and fees for the town transfer station effective July 1st, 2024. We have new common victualler license for High Octane Brew, Inc., doing business as Gourmet Donuts. We'll have our member and public input. We have a couple of appointments we're going to do this evening. One for the Cultural Council, and we have one for the Finance Committee reappointment. And we will get into our annual town meeting discussion, our post-meeting review. And then we will go over some minutes, approve some minutes for March 28th and April 22nd, and then we will adjourn. So not a whole lot of discussion on the agenda tonight as we start off light for our new chair, whoever that may be. So I want to open that. Let's open that up. I know I said I might put it to the end because I didn't want to burden anybody with my agenda, but we can talk about it now. We can do the reorg since it is nothing really heavy. So I'll open it up. I mean, typically how this works is. I'll say historically how it works is usually you have the vice chair takes the chair, and then we nominate a clerk, and then we kind of shuffle everybody. But I know this board's done things different. We break molds, so to speak. So I do want to recognize anybody that is willing. Well, Chuck, I guess you first of all, as being the vice chair. You know what it takes to be the chair. Looking at the year ahead, what that looks like. I mean, that's an important part. If someone doesn't want to fill one of the officer roles, then that's why there's 5 of us. We only have to fill 3 of them. So at any given time, please feel comfortable with knowing that.
Thank you.
Someone will step up.
Yeah.
But what's your?
So, I mean, if nominated, I'd gladly serve. I do, if nominated and elected, I'd gladly serve. If this were 6 months ago or even 2 weeks ago, it would have been very difficult based upon my workload. But fortunately, from a business perspective, that's all changed of late, last Wednesday. And, a lot has happened in my life over the last couple of years. Got a new job, and a lot's changed in my personal life as well. So a lot of time is freed up, and I would be willing to do it, but I'm also aware of the fact that some others might be willing to do it. Some of us have recently retired and may have a fair amount of time on their hands. So I'm open to a discussion, and if there's, let me say, I'd gladly serve, but I'm open to if there's someone else that's interested in being the vice chair.
Well, you're Mr. Clerk right now.
I'd gladly serve as well. I have plenty of time on my hands,
Okay.
as you do.
Yeah, no, I know. You're right. You're in the middle of the mix right now, so you're going to do something.
Yeah, you're at least vice chair.
I was going to nominate Mark to be chair. Mark is incredibly active on the board.
Yeah.
He's very diligent. He holds our feet to the fire every time we have some policy debate. I think he'd be an excellent chair.
I think you all would be an exception.
That's fair, but I think that your time spent, you were talking about the time you spent outside of the meetings. I think that made a huge difference in how effective this board was this past year, and I think, Mark, has the time to do that as well, and I think Mark is the temperament as well, so I think I would prefer Mark. I think he would be great at chair, and I think he's just an excellent choice.
We're going to have to talk later, Matthew.
What's that?
We're going to have to talk later.
That's
I'm so pleased with the way this board works together, and I think it's exactly one of the reasons I ran was so that we could work together the way we do, and I'm very pleased that I know that no matter who becomes chair, we're going to continue to work well together.
Absolutely.
That being said, Mark just retired, and so,
He should be punished.
yeah, I think we got to do something to make up for that. So, yeah, I would second Mark.
And I think everyone should have a chance to be chair while they're on the board.
Oh,
You know, and I
what's
think-
going on next year? What are you doing?
We're up.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
The way that he's making it sound.
No,
You're not going to be
last chance,
around
Mark.
next June?
Who knows?
No, that's a good point. And there was a fair amount of, I think there was a fair amount of ping-ponging for a little bit, right?
The year I was chair, it happened because both of the incumbents lost, but then I think 2 years ago, you were nominated for clerk and it wasn't your turn. So I think like everything, the tradition is fine, but like, let's just pick the people who are.
Yeah, I'm not, I'm not stuck in tradition. There's no rules to this. It's who has the time and the commitment. That's the first thing that I ask, because I recognize being chair of other boards, the commitment, but there was nothing like this. And I told you guys the hours that were put in.
Well, you should announce it on camera.
I won't. Because I think that maybe I probably put in too much.
You did.
But we had a lot of transition
Yeah.
as well.
No,
So I
agree.
think there was a lot going on, but, so I think that's recognized. You guys all know the work that we have to do.
So I'll, just to kind of piggyback on what Karen said, I can argue for institutional knowledge and the whole clerk thing, and you're right, when people didn't re-up, or people didn't want it, or didn't get reelected, the pieces didn't all fall perfectly as we had in the past. So institutional knowledge is still going to be there. It's still a phone call away from Mark if Mark's the chair. So it's not like, well, you wanted to be chair, I'm not going to help. To Karen's point, we do work all together as a chair, and it was something that I was proud of during my campaign, and I mentioned it at candidates night.
Yeah.
I do take pride in the fact that we all may not agree on everything, but we're very civil, and we typically reach consensus. So I'd rather do that tonight than have a contentious argument about.
I think we've
not
all
you,
worked
me.
hard at that, and I think it's been to the benefit of the town, and the employees, frankly.
What's,
That being said, I'd like to nominate Mark as the vice chair.
hold on, we have a nomination, actually.
He said he would.
No,
would. Oh, you said
yeah, I haven't actually nominated,
And you
but
would,
I will second Chuck's nomination.
We have a nomination and a second on the floor. I will say that there has been discussion, and I've realized it in the past, when a chairman or chairperson is the chair on their election year, it does heat up for them. As the closer you get to the election, the closer you get to town meeting as well, and the work.
All the blame falls on the chair
And
typically.
it gets heavy heated, so I just want you, as long as you're comfortable with that happening. I think that was a thought process too, when we started to break it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So
That is
we didn't
part of the
have to-
cycle. I think, Matthew, you probably remember that
But it's
conversation.
impossible to do. People are coming and going in
Yeah.
the election, so, but if you're, it doesn't matter, we have a nomination.
Teflon.
Yeah.
A nomination and a second, so, any other discussion as far as the chair? Let's get all three knocked up, we'll do the chair first. So,
Just take the vote.
all right, I have a nomination and I have a second. All those in favor of Mark Rambacher as the chair for the upcoming year, please say aye.
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 All right, it's unanimous, now let's
Congratulations.
talk the vice chair.
Look right.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Nominate
assume
Matthew.
you don't want to be vice chair.
Yeah, this, like I said, this is, I think the back-to-back chair thing in this position would be very, very difficult, not for me, but I would probably have suitcases in my front yard when I got home. If I said
Not by
yes
choice.
to chairman again in 2 years in a row, so that's the type of.
Unless you want to be vice chair.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's
Because I would be
give
happy,
Karen the
actually,
opportunity.
since you have not served as an officer, I would be happy to give it to you.
I would like to be an officer this upcoming year. I'm fine, vice chair or clerk, either one.
I think if you're nominated as vice chair and elected as vice chair, with Mark as the chair, that gives you the opportunity next year to be the chair.
Yeah. So maybe you should be vice chair.
So, I mean, if we
But
follow,
we're not following anything.
yeah, but I mean, that's just, it is a natural progression, the board could change, you and Mark might not run next year, I think it just, it puts, again, that institutional knowledge, it's somebody that
And it
has
doesn't say
kind
that
of
you
been
have to
the
be chair.
heir
either,
apparent.
right?
Right.
It's, so,
Very true.
But, you know, we're getting it ready. We're getting her on the on-ramp.
yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, you want to be vice chair?
Sure.
All right, I will move that the select board vote to elect Karen Morrison as vice chair of the board.
Second.
Chuck seconded that, so we have a nomination from Matthew and a second from Chuck to nominate Karen Morrison as the vice chair the upcoming year. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Congrats.
Thanks.
The clerk position,
I'll be clerk.
yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Giddy up.
We have somebody that wants to be clerk, so
I'll nominate Matthew as clerk.
I'll second.
Mark has nominated you as clerk, Karen has seconded. Matthew Nordhaus as clerk, as a second, a nomination and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I hope you can read those
Sweet.
motions better than I can.
Sweet, sweet clerk money coming my way.
All right, I am going to move my seat. I'm going to give you the,
Come visit.
Do I need to sit over there by the
You can do it.
admin? Like,
Nah, you're good.
I can do it anywhere?
Yeah, I clerked from over there.
yeah, you need to sit wherever you can see everything.
Yeah, so I can see, yep, I'm fine, actually. Wow.
Karen is still in the middle. Is that how we do it? You're fine?
Next meeting's fine.
Just for the formality, can we just go through just for the motions quick on the screen, just with what we just voted? Just to go through
Look at that. You were all ready, huh?
Yep.
We're good to definitely separate.
How does that
Chuck.
differ from what we did?
It's the 1 year term, so that it isn't
So
not
do you want me
electing
to-
anybody indefinitely.
Do you want me to read all three of them? And
Yeah,
then-
just we'll go through quick.
So
You
can we just make a motion that the previous nominations were all for the term
could
of
do
1
that
year?
too. You could do that.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's good. That'll work.
Giving the
Expeditious.
recognitions till the next meeting.
Yes. And the senior
And then
center.
Naming the senior center. Look how fast we're moving.
Wow. You're a great chair.
Discuss prospective chair of chairs committee meeting. So we had this many
6 or 7 years ago.
It's been longer
Maybe
than
8.
that, I think. Melissa was chair
Yeah, you're right.
at the time, so it's probably been 8 years or so.
7 or 8, because I served with Melissa and I just finished my 9th year.
So, when with the chairs, it was basically all of the boards getting together on a roughly a monthly cadence to discuss what was going on with their boards and the other things in town. And there was discussion of whether we wanted to bring this back. So, I don't know how exactly, Chuck, do you have any recollection of how it actually came to the...
Paula Bella. Paula Bella, I believe, is the one that was the impetus to put it all together so that all the boards are communicating with one another and
Because we can't dictate that they do this. We're suggesting that we have these meetings.
And the way Paul worked was, he'd go around and get consensus before, presenting it wholly.
Okay.
So I think it's a worthy board to have, but I think it's tough to sustain, because there is a lot of turnover, and, frankly, I think we have pretty good communication right now, but it can always improve. Again, I'll go with what we think as a board, but if there's an objective that we have as the reason for reconvening or reestablishing the chair of chairs, I think that would be important. Otherwise, it's just going to be meeting for the sake of meeting.
Well, I know there was discussion before I was on the select board, the year before, there was the common study commission that you and Gary were both on, and then COVID hit and basically it
Went
stopped.
away, yeah.
So, that was one impetus, that was mini chair of chairs, that was the planning board, select board, didn't come.
Yeah.
So, this is just a larger chair of chairs, so.
Yeah, I had talked to Joe Knox a little bit about it. He was on during that. I think it got some criticism because there were seemingly decisions were being made in those meetings without the actual boards that should be making those decisions. So it seemed, as long as we're very careful about it not being fully agenda-driven in that regard, more so, like Chuck just mentioned, I think when we have these critical mass things going on, we can say the Orchard, say MBTA, we have a lot of them, but
Buildings, yeah.
that it's very specific to, we're all on the same sheet of music. I think we'd be able to prevent kind of what happened in November's town meeting with MBTA, because we all could have gotten in front of that. I think if the chairs had a little bit more in sync, we could have said, don't, it's not a good time.
Or the
Let's
Indian
wait
Hill,
till May.
the Indian Hill bid, for
Yes.
example. So could you list, for example, what you think some of those things might be for this coming year? I mean, at 550 King Street, and sewer
Yeah.
probably, or two,
And they
Nagog probably, yeah.
I mean, it might not be, and the chair of chairs doesn't have to be boards that aren't involved in those things. I mean, I don't know how much planning is going to be involved in the Nagog Orchard, but they could be, somewhere in there, but I think,
Well, if they're talking about like someone's talking about tearing the house down, right? That came up at town meeting.
yeah, we need the historical
Right,
commission, maybe the
yeah.
chair, and
Yeah.
so, yeah, I like,
So I'll reach out to the other,
Yeah.
I'll reach out to the other boards and see what the temperature is and see about setting something up.
I do think having, like, as Chuck said, make it driven by policy or agendas of some sort.
Have an objective.
An objective so that it's not meeting for the sake of meeting.
Yeah.
But it always does feel like there's really good, having conversations with other board members, there's almost always something that gets surfaced that I didn't know about, or they didn't know about. It's like, oh, we should really get together and talk about.
Well, it's both, discuss the issues, and it's also a way of disseminating
Yeah.
what's happening at the different boards without having to watch all the meetings and read all the minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think meeting for the sake of meeting is such a bad thing in this case, especially when we've got, one frequent refrain that we all hear is how many silos we have in town, and so I think just some time to catch each other up on what you've been doing is also helpful.
Okay.
I mean, to your point, it's probably not going to sustain a year's worth of monthly meetings, but
Yeah.
it's helpful.
Bi-monthly or quarterly meetings
Yeah.
or something, so.
But it's
Okay.
helpful, I think.
Okay. I'll work on setting that up.
Can I just piggyback on that? If you're setting that up, I'd love to get back together with all the employees again.
Yes.
Pre-goal setting, so that we kind of have an understanding of what they're thinking. Try to get some input from them. So we've done that before, in 103, where it might
Yes.
take more than just room 103, but I
Yeah,
think if we can do
so,
just a session with
Before
employees.
the budget cycle?
yeah, Jim wasn't here last year for that, but that was.
When do you think that would be, when did we do it?
Before we set our goals, I think, just to sit down.
In July.
Yeah, and then that lays into our goals, which lays into the budget. So I'd rather have some input from the employees and just kind of keep that dialogue open so that they need to be heard.
Yeah, 100%.
We could line it up with you have a meeting right now with all your
Department heads.
department heads, and that's kind of, we just kind of sat in on that, but we kind of were driven, we wanted every department to give us what was it? Were there goals or kind of it didn't have to be, it was,
Well, when we did it, yeah, it was right after you and I got elected.
Yeah.
We sat down and all the department heads came and they basically said what their goals were for the coming year and what their challenges were, right? Whether it be budget or something else. And then we took that feedback to help set our goals
That's right,
for the
that's
coming
right.
year.
That was very helpful.
I think so.
Needs, wants, and challenges, or something
Yeah.
like that, have them compared with
Yeah.
something that's in
And-
that framework.
And we listened, we didn't actually contribute.
Correct.
Right, it was more of a listening section. from
Correct.
our- So, yeah, we should try and set that up. So,
I'm not sure it was appropriate to do it right now, but we're
Yeah.
kind of going down that same vein with the chair
Yeah.
of chairs, so.
Good.
at a time that's convenient for the employees, not for us, right? We did it like on a Friday at lunchtime or something,
Yeah,
when
that's
we did
true.
it before or something.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, we didn't want them to stay late, have to work extra or stay late. So
Yes.
Yeah, during the work day. It
Yeah.
was during the work day.
I think it was like 2 hours during a workday. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Review and vote to affirm the select board code of conduct. So what's up hasn't been changed from last year, I believe. It's basically the same thing. I don't know if anyone had any comments or concerns with what we did last year, or they wanted to do anything different this year or make any changes to it. I will say the one thing that I struggled with is, from the code of conduct, is that sometimes you're acting as a select board member when you go to talk to someone, and sometimes you're acting as another, on another board, right? When I have to talk for affordable housing, and then I'm always struggling with what the process I should be following is, so I don't know if others felt that same way.
Yeah, I think we definitely went very, very conservative on contact with all the town employees after last year or 2 years ago, and I think maybe that swung a little bit too far. I'm happy to keep it the way it is and keep the status quo, but there are times when I have a question for Kathy or Steve or, someone, and I just want to do a quick email and ask them, and I can copy the TAs on it to make sure that they're aware. But I've actually been holding off and going through, Ryan or Jim in order to do that. So I don't know if we want to revisit that policy.
So what, from your perspective, how has it worked, what we've been doing? What
Interactions with
interaction, would you
employees.
like something changed? What's your feel from your office?
I mean, since I've been here, I think it's been very respectful. It's been, it's always, the office has always been notified in regards to any predominantly of any communication with department heads, with town staff at all, which I think is very much appreciated. And these are obviously a general request, general questions or anything like that. So it's nothing of a sensitivity that would obviously, I think, you would feel more comfortable coming through with Ryan or myself on how to address some concerns that you may have. But the general stuff, as long as we're in the loop, it's all good by us. You agree? You okay?
Yeah, I think honestly what you're doing now is fine, and, I guess I'd be careful about changing it too much, because I think sometimes staff get a little confused, when they have board members coming in, like, well, who am I reporting to? Am I reporting to Mark, who's coming in and asking a question about something like that, or it may be contradictory? So sometimes it gets a little confusing for them, and I know that was a theme that when you came in and talked to staff, I don't know, about a year ago, well, it wouldn't have been a year ago, but one of the last times that you had that engagement, and I know that was with Matthew and Gary. So, and I think that I think that the building has benefited, from that.
In that case, let's not change anything, that's fine.
I think so.
There's no reason to, I think the whole point of this was to make it easier on the staff. It was clearly dysfunctional before, so if it's working well, let's not change it.
I would say that we maybe, we keep hearing some of the other boards say that they might adopt, that maybe we should really, maybe push this forward. Could you guys put these on your agenda? See if some of the other, especially the elected boards,
Those are the toughest ones to do because we don't appoint them.
we don't.
But, maybe we could ask to be put on their agenda to discuss it with the board in a public meeting.
And explain the benefits that
Yeah.
we've realized.
Yeah.
We can obviously, I believe we have the authority, for instance, FinCom, it's a pretty decent board right now as far as, but getting along and things, but is that something that we could, I don't know what the legality behind, you guys will sign a code of conduct based on, as you're an appointed board. Is that an authority-driven thing that we would have?
You'd offer it to them, right? Because you're giving it to them as a
Of course,
guide,
but
right?
I just didn't, I think it's really important that the boards have.
I agree.
So,
And I think we've shared this with those boards at different times.
Yeah.
But honestly, what they've done with them, I don't think anyone has necessarily responded back to say that they
yeah.
would. But we can, remind them again if it's the board's wish to say, we want, the new election, their board affirm this, and would ask you again to consider adopting it for your own board or committee.
So a couple ideas we could have, since now that we've got the new appointments, now that we've just adopted it, we can send an email with the code of conduct attached to the chairs, asking them to please have it on, respectfully, we would encourage you to have this on your agenda within the next month. Let us know how it goes. It could go through, it could be a chair of chairs thing. And then my other thought was that for the boards that aren't elected, for those of us that are liaisons, we can present it.
Yeah, I agree with that, and we should also say that, for the boards that are elected, they want us to come and talk to it and how it's helped our board, one of us will be there at one of the meetings to help support it.
Yeah.
So, okay.
If I could have, through the chair, if I could have one clarification. Matthew, explain to me when you said, let's just keep it the same. Because in the 4 municipalities I've been with during my career, you have DPW has always had access to the legislative body. They've always reached out and said, hey, this is this and that. I'm okay with that, in terms of, 10,000 foot level things. I don't have an issue with that. I think everyone's been very respectful of that. So I just want to make sure that I understand what we're talking about here.
So it's not that DPW doesn't have access to us, it's that we don't have access to them.
Understood.
Without going through you.
Okay.
So-
And like I said, I'm okay with that at the 10,000 foot level because they're a major department within municipal government. I'm just, and I think Steve is comfortable enough that he would say, timeout to me, I need a timeout, or something like that. I don't see that going down that road here.
So before we had that, it was much more of a, before we had this code of conduct, that was happening.
I bet.
And
Exactly.
I think the department heads and the rank and file employees did not feel comfortable saying time out.
Yeah.
They felt like they were going to get in trouble, or there was going to be some, so that's why we went to the way we're
Fair
doing
enough.
it now, and it's just a formal, I understand there's gray area everywhere.
Yep.
What I meant when I said keep it the same is I have this mental image in my head of what I should do in order to get to anybody who works for you, or, and I will continue to do that exactly.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's
Jim,
okay.
if I can give you an example of that too, we're going to talk a little bit about the orchard and the next steps for that. And so part of I think what we'd be looking for from the select board and the working group is, what's the vision, who do we go to, and having clarity on that front, because it's a little hard for, whatever board member, for a department head when one board member comes in, are they speaking for the entire board, or is it just for themselves?
Mm-hmm.
So, that's sort of a similar example. It helps provide continuity and clarity for all the parties involved, knowing,
Yeah.
what everybody's role is.
Yeah, I could easily see how that happens. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So,
Do we have a motion? We do. Are we ready for a motion?
yeah, I think so.
Move to approve the Town of Littleton Select Board Code of Conduct Policy.
Second.
It's been moved by Matthew, seconded by Gary. All those in favor?
Aye.
Haven't done that in a while.
We have a new code of conduct.
Were we going to sign it?
We didn't actually sign it last year, we just voted it.
You did?
Sign it?
I
I
don't think
thought
we
we
did,
signed
but
I thought we signed it as well.
No, you're right, still have the signatures on, we can, what we can do is we can update it where, if you notice at the top of it, it says when you last approved it, so we can add, right, we can add it and say, as adopted by the Littleton Select Board at the May 2023 meeting and reaffirmed,
There you go.
voted unanimously again.
That'd be great.
So, and do that. And then we're going to then also, per the direction, send an email to all of the board and committee chairs and encourage them to place the code on their respective agendas and let us know how it goes, but also offer that we can have select board members go and attend those meetings and represent what the code does.
Yep, okay.
Is that consistent? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, Nagog Hill Orchard, discussion of next steps.
We have an orchard working group meeting on Wednesday night? Or no, a week from Wednesday night.
A week from Wednesday.
There have been a few email exchanges with proposals, but basically they were just summarizing what we heard during town meeting, I think. There's been no debate.
Not deliberations,
No
yeah.
deliberations, but like people have said, here's what I heard during town meeting. And then there's been some discussion about when we're gonna meet and stuff. So I think that we are all, basically, we don't know what to do next, so.
Yeah, I think this board's going to need to, I was at Jim's office today, and I was thinking about the vote and everything over the weekend, and I thought we really need to change the direction and come up with what we want the next steps to be. I mean, I respect the work, what they're doing for us, and they did exactly what we asked them to do, but now that has shifted. I know it doesn't matter by how many votes, it has shifted, and right now we own the orchard, right? And for the foreseeable future, we have to, what is the game plan and what is the cost to owning the orchard for the foreseeable future and getting it to a situation where someone would want to lease it? Because that just seems like where we're headed again. Because we have to just kind of take sale off the table for now. So if we're thinking that way, whether we just are going to own it perpetually forever, what's that look like cost-wise? Or if we're going to own it with the ability to lease it and make it attractive, whether that means removing trees, cutting down the amount of apple trees and creating other options for us to hay certain areas while we're sitting there maintaining it so that someone can potentially lease it, or we can go back out that way. That's kind of what I was racking my brain on this, and you guys have put a lot of work into it, and I was also going to ask that, that's a lot of work you guys put in. Are you both want to continue doing that, or do you want other?
I think it a little bit depends on where we want to go with it, but I do think that there's a little bit of overlap, I guess, in terms of mandates. I think we do need to figure out an overarching mandate for the orchard working group. I think the orchard working group is going to have to inform us to a certain extent about what those possibilities are. So my recommendation would be that we call a joint meeting or request a joint meeting with the orchard working group and have a dialogue about it and try to figure out what the next steps are. There's some immediate next steps that need to happen, public safety issues, right? That need to be addressed immediately. That the orchard working group is in a position to take care of.
Yeah.
But in terms of the mission of the orchard working group, yeah, we're going to have to work that out.
I think, like, in my mind, what it comes down to is the orchard working group was charged with figuring out the best and highest use of this property, and we did, and then it failed. So there might be a mandate from this board, and there was obviously the vote sort of indicated that what we determined was the best use wasn't what the town felt was the best use. I mean, right?
Really close.
Really close, but nevertheless, like, let's just say that for now that we're
It's a dangerous game to play, though, because
right.
Massive policy changes federally, locally, state, are razor sharp votes. So I thought that same thing, and I got thinking, well, this is how government's run. So I'm taking it fully for granted that we are owners of this orchard, and where do we go from here?
So I think,
Take
yeah, so
action.
I think one of the things to discuss with the
I don't-
Orchard Working Group
I
is,
mean, that's not a policy, that's a fact.
Right, but
We own it.
the thought of sale, and us just kind of coming up with, okay, well, let's
So,
kick it down the road, so we try to sell it in 2 years.
No,
I don't think
but-
that's a strategy.
no, but
right?
let's.
No, and I think the Orchard Working Group would tell you that's not feasible.
So I think that if we decide, if this board decides, like, okay, we're not going to continue with the sale, there's going to be some reorganization or some change in that membership, because I think some of the people, and I'm part of it, is like, well, I don't think that's a good idea, and I'm not sure I want to chase that. I mean, I probably will, because I think the Orchard is a beautiful place. But I think that that's the first decision we have to make. Do we make sure the working group has their mandate based on what they think is best, or do we overlay the policies of the select board to say we have to lease it? I think the second then after that is, if we do lease it, I think we have to be very clear about what that means. And I think it means, unless we want to spend a lot of money, we're going to have to cut trees down, which is going to be expensive. We're going to probably hay it and turn it into pasture. It's going to be a substantial change to the way that is, and I think people are going to be very upset by that.
But Matthew, the land's not going anywhere, right?
Well, okay,
So-
but
It's, I think you guys have done enough work to know why people are skeptical about leasing it, right? And if that means $1 million needs to be dumped into the orchard to do certain things, then that's where we're at. This is what the town wanted to do. We wanted,
but I don't think we actually sold, no one actually got up and said, if we spend $1 million on the orchard, what are you willing to give up for that $1 million, right? If
we didn't do that.
We never did that, so I think the orchard partially failed because of an educational campaign. We just didn't have enough time to educate people on why selling it was potentially the right thing to do. I've talked to several people after the meeting that says, I wish I would have known more about this, I would have changed my vote, right? So, and I'm not suggesting that we go necessarily and hold another town meeting tomorrow and try and get a different group of people, because that's not necessarily the right thing, but we should sit down, I agree, we should sit down with the Orchard Working Group and say, for the foreseeable future, whatever we decide that is, we own it. So what can we do over that period of time? And if that period of time is 6 months, a year, let's figure out that. If we're going to say we're going to own it forever, let's figure that out, right? But we need to start doing the short term, at least now, and figure out what that means.
And short term is, we've got to get into compliance. We've got to get into compliance really quickly, because we are on MDR's radar as non-compliant. They were well aware that this was happening and that this vote was going to happen, and they're going to be aware of the fact that it failed and that we've got no plan for compliance. So compliance, I think, has to be a top priority.
for this year,
Yes,
realistically.
immediately.
Yeah, and I also think, last year we went down played the game of let's lease it, and we got one potential lessee, and that fell through, so now we're going through and saying, well, sell it, and then the town rejected that, so we go through this game again and get one more bite at leasing, and then that fails, and I mean, how many times do we want to play that game too, right? So
Yeah, I'm not sure what's issuing another RFP for lease is going to get us.
well, I'm saying we own it.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? We own it
Yeah,
now.
so-
So we've always owned it, but I'm saying, get that number. I think the two groups together can get it. Is it $1 million a year to run there? I don't think it is.
do what, though?
Initially, it might be.
To do what?
To do-
Like,
I mean,
turn-
and that-
To hire a manager, a farm manager. And I'm going to use Chalon as an example. I know I think we could still discuss, yeah, we're discussing this. I wanted to make sure I wasn't off track, and I know this discussion should probably take place with the Orchard Working Group.
Yeah.
I value a lot of that opinion as well, but if you look at what they did, there are some strategies that absolutely 100% worked, and they don't get a penny from Leominster to run it. So I just wanted to see what good stuff we can get from them, potentially, that they cut their orchard back to 20 acres. 20 acres are their trees. They got rid of a lot of trees. Harvestable 20 acres, and then they started planting blueberries and other berry-type things, and they call, farming. They do a lot of other stuff there, and that's what I'm talking about. What does that look like cost-wise? And on top of a farm manager, that might be a hired position from the town, maybe, I don't know. I just think that if the town, if we're going to own it, let's not play like we don't own it and
Yeah.
keep hoping, well, we're gonna sell it.
No,
There aren't many futures for the orchard, either short-term or long-term, that don't involve getting rid of the trees. They are spreading diseases to their neighbors, potentially. They are not commercially viable, so they can't be part of a compliance program.
Right.
So that's absolutely, I mean, I don't see any way around getting rid of
And we should, I think
All
it's
the
a
trees.
responsible thing to do.
more or less.
We know that only 50% of the land has to be farmed agriculturally, so of the protected land. That doesn't include conservation, that's separate,
No,
right?
it's
So,
just the APR land.
okay, so let's do that math out on the property and say, well, these are the younger trees. All right, well, we have something there. I haven't been in your meetings, I watched some of them, but the mission was different, and somehow we have to craft this.
And where the Orchard Working Group can help us is by saying, okay, so if you want to be farming 25 acres, you're not going to need just a farm manager, you're going to need a farm manager and, 15 seasonal employees
Right.
and 5, year-round employees
this
at
capital
this level.
Plus
This type of equipment
yeah.
and this type of capital investment,
But I think that's a great conversation to have.
Yeah.
We should do with
Okay.
the Orchard Working
All right.
Group. Because they will also say, well, here's how Shoal Farm actually works, right?
Yep.
And let's go into that. There's a lot of context with all this discussion that we don't have.
Right, so I think all the discussions so far have been about leasing or selling and not managing it
Correct.
ourselves.
That's correct.
And the cost, and maybe we start down that path and figure out what it's gonna cost and decide it's not within our budget or.
I mean, I think part of it too is we've always assumed that we wanted to keep it as an orchard when we're talking about running it.
The
And I
whole
think-
thing.
Yeah, and I
Or
think
more.
that is now, everyone should be aware that's just not gonna, like, if we're gonna spend money, we're gonna spend way more money if we try to do it as an orchard. Because the only income you get is from.
Solely, yeah.
Is from basically pick your own. lettuce for
Mr.
forward
Chair,
business.
can I offer something too? Because I think that point's important, right? It's part of that same education, because trying to get back to an orchard has its own set of challenges. And I think that the point you had raised earlier about education is important. And this is a suggestion I believe we would actually agree to with the working group, was about having a specific community engagement event or events. I think hiring MAPC was a thought that, one of the things that I saw a lot with MBTA communities, for example, that really turned it is when we had that workshop here in this room. I think all the members were there, or most of the members were here at that meeting, and so that was both educational to the members and really kind of rolling their sleeves up and seeing what those options were. And in this case, you'd be looking at 3 options: potentially sale, potentially leasing, potentially town ownership, and really kind of engaging with the community about those things. I think when you go back to the working group to say that, is that something that's still of interest? Because I think we should find the resources to make that happen, because I think seeing, especially to how the conversation evolved with MBTA communities, another hard issue for us as a community to get through, and with the survey and with the engagement session we had, was really effective, I think, in changing the tone of that conversation, such that when we got to town meeting, seeing what happened in the November town meeting versus what happened in the May town meeting was a big difference, but it had a lot to do with the very things you were talking about. It's
So-
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, should we actually have a joint meeting with them, or should we have a public info session where we attend?
Let's have a joint meeting first, because I think the public info sessions at this point are not time critical. They were going to be when we were
With
going
a
to do an
sale, for sure,
RFP,
yeah.
but
Okay.
we can do those over the
Okay.
next month or two.
So,
But I do think the first step is having a meeting with the working group, and let's get all the information that we need in order to decide how to go forward.
okay, so. Okay,
Yeah, and our next scheduled one is a week from Wednesday. I don't know if that matters to you or to the select board, but,
so our next meeting is the 28th.
28th, yeah.
So,
okay.
The day after Memorial Day.
I mean, do we
Yeah,
That might
it's
be a little-
Tuesday.
Do we squeeze a joint meeting
But
in
maybe,
before the
yeah.
28th, or do we?
well, we could, unless we wanted to go to their meeting,
We could theoretically do it on our regular meeting night.
So,
on
Because what are you
Wednesday.
guys discussing right now?
We are discussing next steps for this.
Oh,
So maybe we should, maybe that makes sense, yeah.
so post your meeting is it?
What?
I'm wondering, I'm thinking we might want to let some things shake out in terms of membership and let the Orchard Working Group go through their
Okay.
process. Yeah, like get through their process a little bit first.
And we can discuss a meeting after that. That's
Yeah.
all
Okay.
right.
Let's
I would
let it-
say
we'll meet
we're
at
having
these
our
points.
meeting now, let's let them have a meeting and then let's get together.
In the meantime, did we fund them?
Yeah, $20,000 for the immediate needs,
For
which is
this public safety issue.
basically.
The mowing, that's
putting
what you
up-
were
yeah,
talking about.
Yeah, taking down some of the dangerous stuff and patching up some of the holes.
If we still need to go before the FinCom and do that,
Okay.
so we need to make, that's a transfer request from the reserve fund, so, yeah.
And we were going to discuss the specifics at our next meeting. Sarah's.
Yeah, I think, right, we're
Sarah's
looking for
been-
clarity at that meeting, right, exactly, so that's what we want to do, and exactly. And
Okay,
Okay.
moving on. Proposed amendments to the regulations and fees for the town transfer station, effective July 1st.
I should have had Darth Vader music playing.
We should do walk-up music.
Hype men and
think I-
everything? Yeah, totally.
All right, good evening. Stephen Allen, Director of Public Works. Just here, public hearing for the setting of the fees for the transfer station.
Do we need-
Just a quick PowerPoint here, just touching on kind of the last 3 years. When you get a little bit further back than FY '22, you drifted into COVID years and the numbers are all screwy because everybody was home and everybody threw everything away, so kind of it wrecks all the numbers. But first slide here kind of,
Start over now.
so Ryan, just...
back,
Yep.
good, okay, sorry.
So just looking at the sticker fees was the same 22 and 23, and then last year, actually, excuse me, the senior sticker dropped in one of those years, dropped down to $50 from 70. And then last year, we kind of, remember the discussion with this board, kind of split the difference on the stickers last year. The next slide is kind of the bag fees over the last 3 years.
If I could stop, Mr. Chair, so just, I think that's an important point, because I know we get a lot of emails regarding that, why are we raising senior fees? Well, because during the COVID, we actually reduced the fee, we brought the fee down, so it's really just getting, when there's any discussion about it, that's probably something that kind of gets lost. We're not back where we were before the COVID
Correct.
price, so that, just something to be said, that we're not trying to raise fees beyond pre-COVID year, it's just getting back, we thought we were doing a good thing by lowering the prices, and rightly so.
Yep.
And not that it's gonna happen this year anyway, but I'm just saying that that's something that I think people gets
So
lost.
that's actually, we're not raising sticker
We're not.
fees this year.
No,
because
and-
in the packet, two things said that we weren't, and the third thing said we were.
Yeah,
So
there was a
it's just
discrepancy, I wasn't sure either.
A clarification that the fees aren't
Yeah,
changing.
sticker fees are not changing, I will fall on the sword. My own kind of OCD engineering background, wanting to line everything up in the format right and copying and pasting, I did this, of course, the one number I did not change. And was promptly put on notice for that one.
We found out.
Yeah, the sticker fees are not proposed to change.
And the bag fees are not going to change either.
The bag fees
are changing.
are gonna.
Oh, wait.
This is the last 3 years.
Oh,
We'll
I
get
see.
the,
I was saying, okay.
My proposed fees in a minute. So just showing that in '22, they were $1.25, $2.25, and $3.25, and then '23 and '24, they had gone to $1.50, $2.50, and $3.50. So no change in the last 2 years on the bag fees. Next slide is just kind of totals of sticker sales the last 3 years. For this year, FY '24, it's kind of through the end of April. I don't really expect any, we might sell one more, a couple more through the month, but then the new ones will be available June 1st. But in total, 752 regular price stickers, and then 1,033 senior stickers. and that is your first sticker, and then including the homes that do get a second sticker. And then 2 replacements the last few years. I don't know if the same people keep losing their sticker or what's going on there, but it's funny that it's just 2 on the replacements. Next slide is just kind of showing, you know, a sort of an increase in solid waste tonnage every year. FY '22, 625 tons over the course of the year. So currently, and I'm projecting out over the next couple months, but it's looking like it's going to be somewhere around 780 tons. So we're seeing, you know, a fairly significant increase over the last 3 years in solid waste tonnage. Sort of similar on the next slide with recycling tonnage. Again, you know, showing a kind of a steady increase over the last 3 years in the recycling tonnage. So with that, the proposed FY '25 fees, again, sticker costs remain the same. I am proposing to the board a 25-cent increase in each bag. Some of that is driven by when we extended the contract with Waste Management about 1.5 years ago. It's extended through 2025. There is a contractual 5% increase in solid waste disposal. So obviously the bags are to cover solid waste, and sort of my plan is we'll take a little bit on the bags this year, and then next year we'll sort of leave the bags alone and look at the stickers. So maybe kind of every other year we'll do one every year, right? That type of thing. And also with the proposed FY '25 fees, some of the miscellaneous items, dropping a TV, a mattress, we're seeing some increased costs in some of that stuff. So proposing to go up on like bulk items, TVs. You can go to the next one, Ryan. So this slide here kind of shows current rate and the proposed rate. As you see, the stickers are the same. The 25-cent increase across the board in the bags. And then on the next one is just some of the miscellaneous fees. Up $3 on the TVs and CRTs, $1 on the propane tanks, $5 on the bulky furniture, which is, you know, the bulk dumpster, $3 on scrap metal items, and then a $5 increase in the mattress disposal. Just, again, a lot of that is just to cover the costs that are coming from the different vendors, where like mattresses go to Lawrence to a vendor to get taken apart and recycled. Disposal of the electronic stuff is starting to tick up. And just to speak back to the, obviously I said the solid waste is ticking at a 5% per contract. The recycling tonnage is fluctuating the last 3 months' bills. We've been paying anywhere from $71 a ton to $91 a ton. So it's kind of bouncing all over the place. So it's a little tough to predict with the recycling costs at this point. But that's a quick presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Do you know, can you give us some sense of how much of the revenue comes from the stickers versus the bags?
The bags, we get deposits once a month from Waste Zero. It's how it's reported. It's kind of weird. We buy the bags. The town buys the bags up front. They sit in the warehouse, and then when Market Basket, Aubuchon, Donlands, whoever gets them, they buy them by the case. So we get reported how many cases go off to the different vendors, but then we don't get any reporting on when, for all I know, Aubuchon has 25 cases of bags in the bag. I don't know, right? So we get deposits from Waste Zero every month. So I didn't include it in the slide, but I can certainly tell you. FY '22, there was $222,000 of bag revenue. '23, there's $233,000, a little over that in bag revenue. And through the end of March, current fiscal year, we're at $165,000. So we're tracking pretty close to last year.
And so, and the sticker income would be 700 times $150 for the regular price, and
Yep.
65,000 for the seniors.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit more bags than stickers. It sounds like 2/3 bags, 1/3 stickers or something. Okay.
And those numbers you gave, Steve, the $230,000 on bags, that's net. That's after
what?
cost of goods sold. That's net. That's
Yeah,
our revenue.
Yeah, the
We get
revenue
those
coming
okay.
back from Waste Zero to us.
Through the chair, is there any way we can hook up with hefty, super strong bags and pay a couple extra bucks?
at least give us the option of buying good purple bags instead of,
So
BYO purple bag.
when there was a bad run of bags maybe 6 months ago. They were sliced.
yeah.
We had a few complaints on that. In the last, I'll call it year, could be 15 months, Waste Zero has only received 12 complaints from people in town. We have them all itemized. And one complaint was the town seal was fuzzy on the bag. You know, I know the
That affects
drawstrings rip out, trust me.
functionality.
When I lived in town, I tried to stuff as much as I could in those things. So, you know,
Okay.
there's not a lot of complaints, but,
I was tongue in cheek, but it's.
no, absolutely, something that needs to
But
be
we get
said.
that question.
We do.
So if you go back to the slide that showed the distribution of seniors versus this one, does anyone else feel uncomfortable that there's 60-70% of our stickers are seniors?
I was a little surprised by it, honestly, but
What are you trying to say?
Why uncomfortable?
There's a lot more senior stickers versus annual stickers than I would
I
expect.
think,
We're not, 60% of our community isn't seniors.
But it could be that 60%, but it could be that the people who use trash services are the ones with
it's all
kids in school.
curbside. Yeah, it's private curbside.
It seems
Yeah.
like a very high
I think
number.
it's output, like I think if you've got, 3 kids in your house, you put out a lot more trash
Yeah.
and you're not willing to go to
Bag
the
it and go, yeah.
transfer station as often as you might need to otherwise.
And if I had a mother and father in my house right now, I'd definitely say, you're gonna get us a sticker.
I know people that do that too. So.
I'm sure that's part of it as well.
And
yeah.
there's that.
And the senior stickers are 60?
60, same as last one, well, same as current.
And did you do?
No, it's age 60, sorry.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Oh, sweet, I can get one in like 3 years.
Couple more years.
Did you do that, and you did the projections for revenue? Like, are we looking at
Beach bag.
roughly breaking even this
Yeah.
year on the transfer station?
Yes.
Okay.
Cool.
Mr. Chair, we do have a question.
Yeah,
I don't
do
know
we
if you're
have
taking
any more?
questions.
No, I appreciate all the hard,
It's a
really,
public hearing, so
Steve.
Yeah, thanks a
a lot of
lot,
work.
Steve, that's a lot.
can you come up and,
Who are you?
Brian Tarbox, 16 Fletcher Lane. I may have imagined this, but I thought somewhere during last year I heard that we were considering going to single stream recycling.
That's us then.
So technically, all the stuff goes to a single stream facility. It's just separated at the transfer station. Plastics, glass, now we're throwing newspapers in with the cardboard. At some point, we are looking at possibly adding another compactor and kind of rearranging the setup. So everything but glass can go in one. They like to have the glass separate. So then we'd have plastics, cardboard, newspapers, and the tin aluminum cans all going in a compactor. So that will, ultimately, the goal is to cut my trips down to Borica, right? So instead of going 4 or 5 times a week to Borica, maybe I go 2 or 3. You know what I mean? So ultimately, it all does go to a single stream facility where it gets sorted. It's just we're still set up to have it all separate.
I'll just say if we could avoid, my household would love if we could avoid separating.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
so I know 2 other items have come up around the transfer station that aren't necessarily sticker related. One is a composting dumpster for invasives,
Oh, yeah.
and another is a possibility of styrofoam recycling.
So I talked to Waste Management, I'll touch on the styrofoam first. I talked to them about having a specific styrofoam dumpster, I guess. And they will not take it, they will just throw it away if it has a speck of dirt in it. So it has to be super, super clean. Otherwise, it's just going in the trash like you do now.
And there's different types of materials that.
Yep, yeah, so they were a little hesitant on something like that. As far as the invasives in a dumpster, we would have to figure out what then to do with it. Solely because the solid waste here, I say my stuff, the solid waste still goes to a landfill. a lot of the invasives go to an incinerator, which the closest one's in Haverhill, because they're not building incinerators everywhere, so, you know, you're going to Wheelabrator and Haverhill. And depending on timing up there, if we were gonna haul it, we'd need different permitting to bring it there. So I'm not saying it's not possible, but a little unlikely right now.
Okay.
And I just can't, just to touch on that again, I don't have a space down by like where the compost is and the brush and the logs end up to put in, we have our own invasive problem down there, so I don't want to introduce anything else.
Fair enough. Okay.
Ready for a motion?
Think so?
I'm good, yeah. Thanks,
Move
Steve.
that the select board vote pursuant to Town Code Chapter 181 to establish the following fee structure for use of the Town of Littleton Transfer Station effective July 1st, 2024.
Did we open it?
Stickers, full price, $155, senior $60, second sticker $70, senior second sticker $35, per bag, 33 gallons, $3.75, 15 gallons, $2.75, 8.5 gallons, $1.75, and miscellaneous item fees for CRTs and TVs, $24, propane tanks, $15, bulky furniture, $30, large metal items, $25, mattresses, $40.
Before we
Get a
do
second.
that motion, can you make a motion to close the public hearing?
Oh, sorry. I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Do we have a second to the motion?
Second Matthew's motion.
Move the thing I just wrote.
Yeah. Second to that.
Okay. It's been moved by Matthew, seconded by Chuck to change the sticker fees, the transfer station fees. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
New common victual license for High Octane Brew.
So, do we need to read the public hearing notice on this one?
Well, we don't have one, so,
There
no.
it is, then. I guess we don't.
So, yeah.
Mr. Chair, how are you?
Good. Go ahead.
I operate, I'm Gary Archer from Archer's Mobile, Littleton, Mass. 500 King Street, and I operate the mobile station at the Common. And I currently have, on my property, I have a tenant, Gourmet Donuts. And the gentleman that runs it, he has two other operations, and he's looking to downsize and concentrate more on the other business he has. And we had talked a while ago about if he ever decided to sell the business, I'd like an opportunity. So we gave him that opportunity, and he purchased the business. So I want to come from the board and ask that you accept the business, and if I can get a common victuals license.
So you're not actually asking for a change of anything other than
Ownership.
working conditions, it's just change of ownership?
And
It's change of
name.
ownership.
And name?
Name change as well?
Name change as well, High Octane Brew Inc.
Cool name.
Okay.
The employees remain the same, the operation remain the same. I think everything is pretty much the
Quality?
same employees. Say again?
The quality?
The quality, I'm
Will the
hoping to convert
breakfast
some of these folks to
sandwiches
these off-brand drinks here to a more superior drink. Gourmet donuts.
To me, it comes down to what your marketing is going to look like. I want to see what the picture of what this is going to be in the front of your building.
It'll be the same.
It will be?
Gourmet donuts, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But the actual corporate name will be High
High
Octane
octane.
Brew.
Okay,
So it'll remain under the umbrellas 14 locations.
great.
You seem disappointed that there isn't going to be a new logo. Are you invested?
Gourmet, it's like a 70s logo, like a gourmet. No, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a
Looking forward to it.
big venture.
Cool.
So it's literally, you're essentially buying a franchise.
I am. I'm buying the franchise. The other one, like I said, is going to step onto his other locations and try to operate those more efficient.
Okay.
And he gave me the opportunity. We had talked about it a while ago. If it ever comes up, I'd like the opportunity to step in and run the operation. And I'm there all the time, Monday through Friday. I spend many hours there, probably more than I like to, but I'm there all the time. I'm hands-on. I'm a hands-on person. I have good employees, and I strive in making the right decisions and make sure the customer is always right, and make sure that we have a good offering, and people come into a clean, neat operation that's appealing to people, and we have a fresh offering each and every time.
I will say that, thank you for the tidiness of your facility. I mean, outside, the curbs are all painted perfectly white, and the landscaping is always, it's well groomed, it's well taken care of, and it's in the center of town, so it's a nice gateway for us. It's for me, it's very much appreciated.
Thank you, it means a lot. We've
Certainly
been there for
inside the
58
bathrooms,
years.
everything.
I agree.
58. My dad started in '66. He's an employee, he bought the business, and then I took over in 1996.
Outstanding.
It would be nice if people respect the do not exit sign, but that's not your, yeah. So, any further discussion?
No, I think it's a great change, and my hat's off, and wish you
Good luck.
much success in this
Thank you.
new venture,
Local
and with the
owner.
old venture.
Yeah, it's exciting.
We know who to come to.
Do we need to close the public hearing?
We do.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Second. Sorry.
Motion by Matthew, second by Karen. All those in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye. Move that the select board vote to approve the application submitted by owner-manager Gary W. Archer for a common victualler license under Mass General Law, Chapter 140, Section 2, for High Octane Brewing, Inc., DBA Gourmet Donuts, located at 500 King Street, Littleton, Mass.
Second?
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Gary. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, thank you for your time and support.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the investment.
Thanks, Gary.
Before we get into the public input or members update, we skipped the mail. So, do we want to cover that at this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay,
Got
so
ahead of myself.
bear with me 1 second, please. Okay. I think we'd like to start out by making the announcement for Team 6328 that went to the World Championships in Houston, and what they accomplished. They were up against a total of 600 other teams throughout the world across 8 divisions, and in which they played well on Thursday and Friday, and they ended their qualification matches on Friday, ranked number 2 in their division. This put the team in a position to pick playoff partners based on the robust scouting data provided by their incredible strategy team as the second seed Alliance captain on Saturday. And they selected FRC 4481 team from the Netherlands, and one from Maryland and one from Vermont. Ultimately, I believe they came in
Fourth?
Was it?
Fourth, I think.
They came in fourth.
Out of really 3,500 teams?
Out of 6, total of, I think it was 600 teams.
Yeah, but it's 3,500 teams worldwide, and that narrowed down to 600 at the Worlds, which were held in, was it Houston?
Thank you. Thank you. Very incredible feat.
Yeah.
Just very, very impressive. Moving on.
Actually, if I may,
Oh,
just before we
please,
move on.
please.
There were Katie Bonner and her husband Brett and a number of people dedicate a ton of time using the facility at Patriot Beverage, the old R&D facility at Patriot Beverage on Harvard Road. So thank you to those folks and all the folks. They receive a ton of donations from a lot of local businesses, and it's just typical Littleton, right? Everybody pitching in for, this is so cool that kids are, using STEM skills and doing something. It's not supporting the football team or the band, or it's just something else that kids can do in Littleton, and I just wanted to give kudos to all the people that
I've
helped
been
them.
down to their open houses the past
They're
couple of
unbelievable.
years. They're
Yeah.
incredible. They have, everyone rotates through different skills, like, the kids have to learn how to market and raise funds, as well as how to do the building the robot and things. So I think it's an incredible job that the Bonners are doing, and everyone else is volunteering.
Right. And I'm grateful they don't do the pie in the face anymore, because I think Matt Pinot broke my nose when he did it.
Thank you. to help with that message.
Absolutely.
National Grid is notifying the Littleton Select Board that they are doing as part of their, this year as part of their vegetation management plan. They will be doing treatments on rights of way, and will be seeing to be applied to target vegetation by experienced Massachusetts licensed certified applicators. And there's approximately 8 companies that have been deemed certified that will be around the community through the end of this calendar year, applying the management plan to them. Also, we received a donation, a gift from Kristen Grimes for $695.44 for Tread Fund, and this was from Liz from EHS. Thank you very, very much, Ms. Grimes. Also like to make everyone aware that you can see things that are on public notifications. Just go to www.littletonma.org/subscribe, community impacts, transportation issues, public health concerns, town events, town meeting changes, public safety activity. Also, some of our current openings on town boards that are appointed by the Select Board. There's one opening on the Clean Lakes Committee, there's one on the Economic Development Committee, one on the Permanent Municipal Building Committee, one on the Sustainability Committee, and 3 alternate citizen-at-large openings on the Transportation Advisory Council.
Before we move off of that, there's 3 positions that are only for less than a month, or a little over a month now. When do those go to being 2027 or whatever terms?
I don't have that answer right off the top of my head.
You have to talk to
So we should,
Okay,
Mr. Brewer might be able to shed some light on that.
thank you. Also, as I alerted the Select Board before, but for everyone out there, Littleton was, we received information that awarded recognition as a Tree City USA from the Arbor Day Foundation of 2023, which is quite a feat in itself. It's throughout the country, and with that brings grant opportunities, and it shows that the town has made a sincere effort in the programs for meeting the 4 requirements, maintaining a tree board, a department having a tree care ordinance, dedicating an annual community forestry budget, and that's outstanding, very, very well done by, I know, Conservation Commission has been involved in that tremendously. That's it for mail.
okay. Member updates? Do you want to start, Karen?
Sure.
Sorry, I was all over the place. Not in your order.
We can go all the way back to April 26th. Had office hours, so thanks to all who came in and to discuss. I believe we've got somebody scheduled for this Friday. I'll be there, yeah. And I'll be there again in a couple weeks. Zero Waste Day is coming up from 10 to 2 at Littleton Middle School this Saturday. If you go to the Energize Littleton page, you will be able to get details on that. It's an opportunity to donate materials, all sorts of household materials, electronics, clothes, mattresses, either for recycling or reuse.
Energize Littleton?
Energize Littleton, yep. I wanted to thank everyone who came to town meeting and everyone who came for the elections and voted. And many thanks to all those who volunteered to serve. And I wanted to thank the Orchard Working Group. They put in hundreds of hours this last year. They attended meetings, they walked the orchard, presenting to the public, cleaning out the barn, talking to MDR, DPW, area orchards and farms, and the list goes on and on. And so while we did not always agree, we always were able to work together effectively. And I truly appreciate every single member on that board and thank them for their support. That's all from me.
I want to second that. Just a couple things. One is there was a mention in the packet of the animal control officer contract is not going to be renewed as of July 1st, I believe.
That is correct.
I just was surprised at that. I guess I thought it was all ready to go, but did something change?
Something had changed,
Okay.
and Boxborough being the lead agent on that, and it's something that the chief is having an independent conversation with the animal control officer to have, and I believe that same practice is being exercised by the other communities, having their own independent arrangement with that ACO. So.
And the other one I have is rather unfortunate. The Dan Bodion, who works with the Neshoba Praying Indians, sent an email to Littleton Conservation Trust, and I guess there was some vandalism of some of the ceremonial stones in that area. I'm just going to read a very brief thing. The destruction, there were three places that were vandalized. The destruction of the donation niche isn't an oopsie. One of the pedestal stones has been ripped out of the earth and tossed aside, and the lintel stones cast down the hill. This structure is rare and unique to Neshoba. There are very few of these around. The only ones I know of are in Neshoba, and this was the very best of them. The pedestal boulder has been pried off to the far left, the pedestal stone stacked in the right foreground. It would have taken significant effort to do this. A pry bar would have been needed. It was intentional. Wow. So it's very unfortunate. Obviously, those things predate the town. It's not our, place to do anything to them. I think the Littleton Conservation Trust is discussing rerouting one of the trails that goes near that. And I'm not advocating that we do anything, we're not obviously patrol that area, but I do want to just make sure the public is aware that those are not, it's not your playground to go and break things and throw stones around. You can go and enjoy it and respect the land and don't be bad. So, and if anyone knows anything, I guess, I don't know,
Call the police.
we're not going to punish anyone, but it's just it's unfortunate. I also know like the Smith land and the New Webster land, they also have a lot of culturally significant sites, so I would really appreciate it if people respected those. That's all. Chuck?
Sure. First, to echo what Karen said, as far as folks that came out to town meeting, folks, there's 1,312 folks that showed up to vote on Saturday. Thank you to those folks. I wish it were more. It's about 17% of our registered voters, which is just under 7,500, 7,436 is the number of registered voters we have. So it'd be great if we could kind of increase those numbers in some way, shape, or form. Ultimately, I'd like to thank everybody who did come out and for all the support for those that entrusted me to help lead Littleton over the next 3 years and allow me to work together with the board and with all the collaboration that we do with all the other boards and departments in town. I look forward to continuing for the next 3 years and doing the best for the most. That's it.
Great, thank you. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome back. And congratulations to all the other elected officials over the weekend.
Get sworn in.
Yes, get sworn in, and thank you for volunteering. It's a worthwhile cause, working to make Littleton a better place. So, the town meeting as well. Thank you for all those that come out. Like what you said, I wish the numbers were more, but I think it was a decent-sized town meeting, so there was interest. We had a lot of business going on, but thank you to those. A lot of good input, a lot of discussion. And I, too, wanted to thank the Orchard Working Group. I know that's a lot of work went into getting to town meeting and everything that happened. It's not a reflection, of what we tried to push through. There's a lot of, everyone in this room knows the history of Nagog and 20 years, we remember when it was vibrant and we saw it slowly deteriorate, and there's a lot of blame to be thrown around on that, but I think we're going to do right by that property, and we're going to continue to work on it. So, let's see. I had that was Orchard. I just wanted to see. Are you going to talk about the HCA meeting we had at all? So we had a phone call with Ivrea, our attorneys regarding the HCA's. So we will be discussing our HCA's on the 28th. Is that?
Yes.
Unfortunately, they've got a lot of town meetings still going on, so our attorneys, that's when they kind of free up a little bit, so they'll be able to be at our 28th meeting to talk about HCA's, and they're currently working. It looks like we're going to have something ready to sign, if I heard it correctly.
Yes, you did.
And what was the other major discussion? Some of the rule changes. So a lot changed over the last 60 days expected from the Cannabis Control Commission. So we do have some templates that they're working with, some of the HCA templates that we're going to be using. There's a lot of discussion with today that we're going to have to maybe talk about the future of HCA's. We're seeing more and more communities just do away with them now that there's not a whole lot gained by HCA's anymore because they've kind of been stripped down to the 3%, just like every other business.
Impact fees?
The impact fee, thank you.
Yeah.
We don't expect an impact fee ever to really hit Littleton with, we can judge by what we have right now. It's not a whole,
Or at least we're not going to administrate it. We're not going to manage it and account for it.
What was the other discussion? Some of the policies we're not going to have till August. All right.
Just we'll deal with that when it comes up.
Yeah.
We also have, I've got notification from two separate entities that are looking to submit a request to the select board for HCA's with moving forward. So I was waiting for that meeting to make sure that we're still in line. That's okay for me to reach out and invite them to do such. So I will do that tomorrow.
We never really close. We're open for business. It's just, so a lot of work on the next couple months on HCA's and how we're going to create our own policies and things based on that. But be aware that the 28th we'll be able to pick our attorney's brains on how we want everything to look. That's really, I think that's it. Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah.
Mark, may I just interject real quick before you go? I've historically been involved with pretty much every HCA that we've put forward relative to cannabis, which I'm happy to continue to do. But I think it would be good to have an additional board member, and I think with Karen's experience, I don't want to volunteer you for anything, but I'm happy to keep doing it, but I'd be open to having somebody join me.
Yep.
I think that's a good idea, yeah. Okay. So I met with our HR director last week to discuss some of the HR policies. She brought the vehicle use policy up a few meetings ago that I said I would update. So I talked to her about that. She also asked the drug testing policy to be updated. So I will have those as a new draft, hopefully for our next meeting. There was talk of whether those policies should also go to the Personnel Advisory Committee as well, since they're in the handbook. So if they come to our next meeting, they'll be in draft form prior to the Personnel Advisory Committee signing off on them. I also wanted to thank everyone that showed up on Saturday and at town meeting, and wish more people showed up on Saturday. So it was a disappointing turnout, but and it was nice weather for the most part. So also on Saturday, I disappeared for a few hours. I went to a garlic mustard pull, helped clean up. Some of us went to the Hartwell Preserve, some went to Joyce Williams to pull the garlic mustard, so thank you to everyone that shows up. This Thursday at 9 at the Smith property, there are going to be some cleanup. The Smith property, they took down the red pine trees, which are considered non-native and invasive, and there's some cleanup and things along the trails there. So Thursday at 9 a.m. The Conservation Trust and Historical Society are doing on Saturday, May 18th, meeting at the Hartwell Preserve from 10 to noon to give you a little history of the Littleton ski area and a walk of the property. That will be at 10:30. Also, this Thursday at 7:30, there will be a talk on the history of the Conant Mill building over at the Congregational Church, sponsored by the Historical Society. It's Thursday at 7:30. So, and those are free to attend, so.
Get you with the Action Unlimited over there.
Well, yeah.
He was doing the word fine.
I just wanted to add, like, I wanted to thank Diane Croy for the clickers. That was huge.
Yeah.
That was huge. I think that everybody really, that was one of the best changes we've made to town meeting in 25 years. So,
Yep.
well done.
And
It worked perfectly, and it was entertaining as well. So it was a win-win all around.
And we don't say enough, we can't say enough thank yous. I mean,
Yes.
just, please.
Everybody
Yeah.
preparing for the
Thank
town
you.
meeting.
It was
yeah.
Staff, there's
it
a
was
lot of,
Finance team, everybody.
Yeah.
There was
coincides with an election, and it's a ton of work that comes out of it.
And it was flawless. So thank you.
Thanks.
Do you have anything to add on the
CPC.
items on the?
I do, thank
Jim,
you.
can I jump in front of you again?
Yeah,
before?
absolutely.
Something I forgot to do because I didn't get home before coming here. 20th anniversary of the Appleman this year. It's July 21st, and it's half-mile swim, 10-mile bike, 3-mile run. Looking for as many triathletes or teams to be involved, and certainly always looking for sponsors. And Littleton Rotary does a great deal in our community, and this is their largest fundraiser, and it's definitely something I wanted to get out there. It's their 20th anniversary, so anybody and everybody that can participate in whatever way, whether you're volunteering at intersections and directing traffic or directing the runners and bikers, or if you want to write a check to donate to it, please do so. That's it. Sorry.
Scratch that off my list. No, also, as Madam Vice Chair was instrumental in identifying the need for a boardwalk over at the beach, and more of a permanent solution than the seasonal temporary one that is there. They have received their DEP permits, and it goes before Conservation Commission tomorrow night for approval for the installation of that. So that's moving right along. The tennis courts refurbishment of those, that is because of contractor schedules. They are looking to do that work in September. And the athletic director at the high school had said it's more imperative that they're on the court in the spring than the fall, so he'll make appropriate accommodations for that. Also, this Wednesday, Mr. Chairman, you have your first deadline. You have the select board submission for the newsletter.
Yes.
Due for Wednesday. And that will start for all department heads. Everyone is scheduled to submit something that has something to submit. And I can't say enough about Nancy's taking the lead, the role and taking the lead, and just with her creativity with the design and everything. It was very, very impressive. It's been very, very impressive. But overall, the team to get us to this point has been excellent. And and that will be published on June 1st. So everyone will be submitted for that, and everything is going to be published for June 1st. We are, for COA, starting the enrollment for the Senior Tax Workoff Program is also coming up. The construction of the new senior center is on schedule. And this week, the water will be turned off from 9 to 2:30. It's from the notice that I had given you over here. What is it, Wednesday or was
Thursday.
it? Thursday, thank you.
16th, 17th,
And
16th.
the sweepers are out. The resurfacing that we're doing throughout the community is on the town website. If someone wants to check that with the neighborhoods that are being done. For the police department, the body cameras the training is all done, the equipment is in place. We also received a $150,000 grant that takes care of the camera purchase and the data storage. policies, all policies and procedures, I believe, they have been written, but I know that the union, police union, were also involved and instrumental in making sure that that loop was closed. Speaking of our town clerk, she said she did get some suggestions from individuals from the town meeting, and some of those suggestions were maybe it could be the buttons could be a larger size, the braille, maybe some braille on the buttons, and they would also like to see up on the screen what number do they have to hit to make it a 2/3 vote, instead of just saying whether it passed or it didn't pass. But this is the goal of what number needs to be there. Through the Board of Health, we've got the opioid settlement survey is out there that I'm sure you're all aware of. And then our health director is also is in the midst of potentially having a discussion with the town of Westford, to team up for a community health specialist and maybe a health agent to assist ours within the community. And the MBTA, we will be submitting our plan to the MBTA for the MBTA communities. To Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development, not Housing, Executive Office of Economic Development for our MBTA communities, and plan. We're waiting for that to come back, and that will be within the 90 days. And that's it. Thank you.
Public input?
Mr. Sanders, while you're walking up there, because I seem to be cutting off everybody tonight, just to give a pat on the back and a thank you to the police station, to the police department, Chief Bernard, and especially Elias Abu for writing that grant to get the body cams for us. Sorry about that.
George Sanders, 672 Great Road. So I want to give you a little input here. One, at the town meeting, it was Diane and myself that set up almost 500 chairs there, okay? It was just the two of us. The next thing, the town need to get information over to the school department for the election. The lights was supposed to be in the gym for 12 o'clock. Well, they are lucky that they finished up around almost 10 o'clock because the lights went out. And Diane and I was the only two people there because we was waiting for Rick to come in with the key to lock the door, because Diane did not have a key.
Is there a timer, George?
Supposedly, I don't know the person's name there at the school has all the lights on the timer. Well, the lights went out, boom, 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 in the gym, but they was in the hallway in the school, they was on. So I waited there with Diane because Diane was the only person left there. I always do that with the election because normally she comes back to the town hall to put the information in, but Nancy showed her how to do it at home. So she put the information in from the election at home. So I didn't have to go with her, but I always look out for her because that's important. The other thing that I wanted to tell you about was on the orchard there. I think reason this thing failed, and I know it was going to fail based on the number of people that spoke about it, plus prior to the town meeting, a lot of talk was about it. And this is what I see that was failed to given to us as voters. You didn't tell us, I don't think every rock was turned with regards to costs involved. If we keep it, how much it's going to cost the town, where's the town going to get the money. So those figures was not told to us as to how much it will cost if the town keeps this property, because there was talk, like the one gentleman said, well, you're selling 40 acres of land, now you're buying 36 or 38 acres of land here. What's the scoop here? So I think that you have to come back and tell the people, the taxpayers, it will cost the town $2.5 million a year to do everything over there, or whatever the case may be. But at the same token, how do we get that money? I sent a letter to Steve today, and I was asking, I said, can we raise the CPC to use money for maintenance for the orchard there? And he said, well, I think 100%, I don't think you can do it. He said, but I'm not 100% sure. So I talked to Kathy in the assessors. She said, no, you can't do that. So I said, okay. So she said, I agree with you. The money got to come from somewhere, and I don't think the people in Littleton is ready to do an override just to support that orchard over there. So we need to come up and give them the real true data as to keep this property. Somewhere, somebody is going to have to come up and say, we need to reach in our pocket and we need to come out with this, unless you're going to take money out of the free cash and do it every year. Otherwise, you know, we're looking at overrides around us that's been failing left and right. And I don't think that's the way to go with regards to this. I had one other thing I was going to mention about something there. I can't figure what it is. But anyway, the other thing, Mr. Chairman, I think since you're the new chairman here, the other thing I think that you probably ought to do is a mere courtesy. Before you close the public hearing, you ought to ask, is there anybody else have anything to say?
Thank you.
Because I raised my hand, but y'all was busy up here looking, so you didn't see it, so I wanted to ask a question.
You sit in the exact seat that can't be seen from here.
Well, you need to grow. Okay.
We'll get him a taller seat next week, next meeting.
Telephone books.
Yeah, and I think that was it. There was something else I wanted to say, but I can't remember what it is now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for all your help at town meeting.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was there for 12 and a half hours.
Wow.
Thank you.
Not the town meeting, the election.
Anyone else for public input? Okay,
We need to find some, like, student volunteers or something to help with the setup. I mean, that's,
yeah,
I might do it next.
yeah.
or get Gary there.
Credit for the civics
Retired.
class.
Town appointments.
Oh, I know what it was.
You're catching my disease.
George Sanders, 672 Great Road. Mr. Chairman, I'm concerned about the money that the Disability Commission has asked the town for to do the survey of the town of Littleton so we can get in on the money that the Disability Commission has at the state. They got grant money up there going out of their ears up there. 2 years ago, they gave 44 communities over $4 million. But what we need the survey to say what Littleton lacks and send that into them, and then we can request from them according to what we want to tackle with. We need to get that, I think between $35,000 and $40,000 that we need to do that. So we really need to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, appointments. Appoint Catherine Harlow to the Cultural Council. Any discussion?
Sounded like a great appointment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Move that the select board vote to appoint Catherine Harlow as a member of the Cultural Council for a term of 2 years expiring June 30th, 2026.
Second?
Moved by Matthew, second by Karen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Reappoint Brian Tarbox to the Finance Committee.
Anyone?
I have a funny page.
Do you want to say anything, or?
Well, you came down here, you might as well.
Just Brian Tarbox, 16 Fletcher Lane. I figure it's disrespectful just to show up. And I think we did our two boards and the whole finance team. I think we did a great job. We started in a crazy impossible position, and we had some bumps, but we figured it out, and we worked respectfully together, and I think we should all be really proud of how it worked, and I'm looking forward to working with you all again.
Thank you, Brian.
I noticed that you trimmed your beard. Was it for this?
Let's say that there were discussions involved.
Okay, very good. Move that the select board vote to appoint Brian Tarbox for a 3-year term on the finance committee expiring June 30th, 2027.
Second?
Moved by Matthew, second by Gary. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks,
Get
Brian.
sworn in.
Thank you.
The annual town meeting post-meeting review.
I think we've said a lot of stuff.
Said a lot of
I have
stuff.
one thing I wanted to, just before I forget, which was 2 years ago, there was some confusion about approving the budget. And I believe someone held an item which was then, it couldn't be debated because it had already been approved in another section. And last night, or sorry, whenever it was, we did the same thing as we did 2 years ago. So we went through category by category to approve them. But if someone had held one later that depended on, I think it was the stipends, as I recall, wasn't it?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah. So I was wondering if we could revisit that. And I'm sorry I jumped in.
Yeah, no, I think it may be something else we could talk to the moderator about, because the moderator goes through every line too, and I think maybe some of the feedback we received too is, can we maybe try that differently as well? Because, if you just said, instead of going through every line, maybe you said, if anyone has holds on any of these lines, that might be another way to do it. So, but yeah, I think that's something we can make a note of. So, but
I think it would just have to do with how we approved the budget and the chunks, rather than doing them a little bit at a time.
I agree that it would be better to approve the whole budget as one article rather than going through.
Once it's been fully vetted.
Once it's been fully vetted, because otherwise you
cleared.
can't take from one bucket to another necessarily if there was a discrepancy.
Okay. So just some, we've been thanking a lot of people today, but I think just to make sure we complete that list, I also wanted to express our thanks to the town moderator, as well as town council, who helped us along on that process. Tim brought us through with the new clickers. We talked a little bit about that. I think overall was a good success for us. Jim mentioned some of the things that we received feedback on that we'll try to work on for the next meeting, but overall that was a big success. Wanted to thank Mark Corey and the team from LCTV to get for the entire room set up. Not a small endeavor with the folks that they work with to get to that point, and that's much appreciated. Wanted to thank Nancy and the IT team to all the work that they put in. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes efforts to get things connected, and the reason we're able to present as we do is a key part of what she and Tom do. And finally, I want to thank all the volunteers that are there at town meeting, checking people in. George for 500 seats, you and Diane putting that out, that's not a small thing. And of course, the town clerk herself for all the work that she puts in. It's a substantive effort, and that's not lost. And finally, I just wanted to thank Diane and Lisa in our office for everything that they did to get to that point. And it's a lot of work, and it's really a team effort, but we're very appreciative of the team that we do have to make things look the way that they do. So it's not by accident, but through a lot of hard work.
Yes, I heard several comments about how much people love the clickers and everything. They wish there was Jeopardy or some other theme music playing during the vote countdown. And
We'll get creative.
yeah. And I like the way we tried different times too. I think the 20 seconds worked better than 30. And right.
I think we'll continue to refine it. I think that's why I think part of what this is a conversation of is to put it to the board members and what you heard from people, because the residents are never shy to share feedback with you. So I'd say anything that you have in terms of feedback regarding logistics and anything that you heard, I like that. 20 seconds is probably plenty. That's a good one. Budget, that's a good one. We'll share that with the town moderator. Was there anything else, any other feedback you received so that we can make it better for the next time?
I'm going to suggest that the first 5 votes of the evening are 30 seconds, and then we switch to 20. because
And then
people are
just
going to
keep
be like,
going
what,
down and down.
I can't, where's my, right?
By the end, they're 5-second
Yeah,
votes.
right. Well, I noticed we did one voice vote that was awfully quick as well, but.
Through the chair, so we did get all the clickers back?
As far as I know,
Okay,
yeah.
that was a question, I know that.
Yeah.
great.
A few
I
other
think there were
towns.
some questions too, like logistics, like if someone's going to the restroom, should they take the clicker out? So things like that, like that they're still trying to
Yeah.
kind of figure out.
Just a comment that I heard, Brian Tarbox, 16 Fletcher Lane. I know the moderator never really tries to stop people from saying a thing, but especially during the orchard discussion, there were a number of people who said, hey, can we do this thing that the previous speaker just discovered was illegal? And somebody would say, turns out that's illegal. And then 5 minutes later, another person would get up and say, hey, could we do this illegal thing? Because it would be really cool. And I don't know if we can ask the town meeting members to, listen a little.
Yeah.
But I do wonder if it's possible for the moderator to occasionally say, nicely asked and answered. Because I think that just made it go longer. And also to the point of like, look, there are, oh my God, we appointed experts to do the thing. They did the thing, they did the research. Listen to experts. So anyway, I don't know. Thank you for letting me rant about experts.
And for Brian, we're going to make sure that the batteries are fresh. We don't want to have that happen again. I felt bad for Brian there in that one, so.
I was convinced Mark was
bumps.
just putting you on.
Sabotaging.
So in terms of the other pieces, we had a long conversation about Nagog earlier. This was going to potentially be that placeholder, so we talked about that. The other, Jim mentioned MBTA communities, we're going to be getting that in and submitting that. There's still a few other communities that voted against this, and adding to that list, I think Marblehead is new, Marshfield, Milton, of course. So they're going to. This is going to be an ongoing conversation, but for us to be in this position is
We're off
a
the
good
bad
thing.
list, so.
It's a good thing we're not
Currently.
Middleton.
Right?
Yeah.
Fair enough. The Webster property, I think we've heard some feedback tonight about trying to get that squared away in a timely manner. So we're working with town council on that, and we are touring the Indian Hill property tomorrow with the contractor, so hope to get that contract signed, and so that's happening at 10, to kind of go through with them, and then for this, they have their first set of eyes. Well, actually, it won't be their first set of eyes, they toured with us before, so they're going to be looking at that, and I think that's pretty much it. Everything else that went through should be fairly pro forma, but again, this is the board's opportunity or the public's opportunity to, any other ways to, again, things that we need to continue to work on or any other feedback that you want to hit on.
Yeah, the only other, we had the comment about the parking situation. I know that's always been an issue. I don't, you really can't cancel those sports. I mean, I guess you could. We could.
It's tough to coordinate.
But, we know when town meeting is going to be. I guess we could say that's almost like no games on those fields.
But Mike would have to have that in the fall.
But we know when it is. It's well in advance before any.
Well, originally, the high school band concert was scheduled the same night as
They
well. So
changed.
they changed. So there needs to be
But it is possible.
a really cross-town communication.
Coordination,
Coordination when these events are happening.
Well, to Mr. Sanders' point about like coordinating with the school department and the lights, we should probably coordinate with the school department on the dates, right?
Yeah.
Which we always do. I think part of it with sports is that gets into when Maya makes those schedules, so it's almost out of the school's hands. That's the feedback we had heard about that.
Oh, because we're into the tournament season. It's no longer.
Well,
just
it's also to what they schedule. So then, at that point, as I understand it, the only parties who could, if the two schools agree that they were going to mutually either cancel it or change it to another venue, they both have to agree to it. Maya be willing to do that, but it's not. These are some of the schedules are actually put in place, as I understand, even before we set our town meeting date.
Could we set up I know other towns set up satellite lots. Could we use
This lot?
Yeah, or a van or something to get folks to and from a satellite lot?
We have the vans. And we could, just basically overtime for the drivers, or just more hours for the
It would
drivers.
really be up
Try it.
here, right? You said,
Yeah, probably.
Make it shuttle down the path, probably, right?
Especially for the folks with mobility issues, so they have an option that doesn't require them to
Park a mile away.
do a long walk.
let's look into that. Like, can you use the path for vehicles? A shuttle in that regard, just for that night?
I've used it.
I'm not sure about that.
But yeah, we should look into something like that.
Seems like we could do it somehow. I would say from my perspective, I heard a lot, and you hear it every year, or every vote, but, I know there's a lot of different philosophies about how we schedule our votes. I am convinced at this point that all the big votes need to be first, period. This is a very difficult process in terms of getting turnout. Folks who have kids that need to go to bed, or folks that have to get home and get their medication, or folks who don't like to drive after a certain hour are not going to stay no matter when we schedule the big votes. And so I think that the town is best served when we front load the big votes
After the budget.
after the budget. Yeah, so that's just my opinion.
Should we look at starting in a different time?
I don't
Would
know,
that
because
be-
then you conflict with practice times and, dinner times, and
People get home from work.
there's never a time that's going to work for everybody. But I do think that, for the folks that can get there, to the idea that, well, if we schedule later in the, time, that, they'll stick it out. They won't.
They can't.
People leave when they have to leave.
I was actually surprised when we did the Saturday town meetings that more people didn't show up during COVID. And I don't know if that was COVID, but it seems like that would be a solution for many people, but apparently not.
A lot of young families are booked from
Yeah.
8 a.m. to 4 p.m. every Saturday. So, I
If
don't
we
know,
scheduled
there's
it
never a
on a
good
rainy
time.
Saturday.
There's never a good time, and I accept that part.
Yeah.
But again, for the folks that show up, let's maximize the opportunity for them to have their voice heard.
And maybe before the next town meeting, we should promote the MART service for folks too. The new MART,
Yeah,
Ride,
point to
the
point.
MART ride
Yeah.
that we have, so that people that may not be able to drive at night or uncomfortable, we can say, need a ride to town meeting, right?
Yep.
Here's a means.
There actually is a policy regarding Karen's point that was passed years ago that said any vote requiring a supermajority had to come immediately after the budget. So we already have a policy. It's just one of those policies we've forgotten.
Thank you.
Come on up, Mr. Sanders.
Sorry.
George Sanders, 672 Great Wood. Mr. Chairman, I'm a firm believer that because you send a warrant to every house in the town of Littleton, okay, our resident get a chance to look through there and read and see what's there. If there's something controversial about that warrant on an article here or there, the people will be out, because I've seen, since I've been in this town, that gymnasium was full and the overflow was in the lunchroom up there. So I think it's tough to pick a time as to when people have a certain amount of confidence in people, I think, here in Littleton. I think Littleton is unique in a lot of ways because we got a lot of smart people here. And I would say that no matter how you mold or shape it, I don't think you could pick a time that you're gonna get more out here or there. The reason that you got the number out for the town meeting, because you had a couple articles on there that people had some concern about. That's why they came out. They wasn't in droves, but it was more than the norm that we normally get at the town meeting. And I think that will always be the case. Thank you.
I also wanted to thank Diane Croy for all the work she did to track down why people weren't getting their warrant books before town meeting.
Yes.
That was yeoman's effort on her part to
Here, here.
do that, so thank you.
Should give her a raise.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize all the effort that she really put in.
There's a ton behind the scenes that, yeah, people don't realize.
Any other comments on?
Nope.
Okay. Moving on. Minutes.
Good night.
Brian.
Yeah, Brent.
Is it, we want to approve the minutes of the March 28th and April
Yeah. It's the
April
tw-
22nd?
I believe it's the March 28th and April
Oh,
22nd,
yes,
is that right?
yes.
Okay.
Just trying to test me?
Yeah, that's,
Out of the gate.
actually, well, it's the new clerk, I think, is, so it'll be the March 28th and
Did
April 22nd.
anyone have any
so.
issues with the minutes?
Nope. Move that the Select Board vote to approve the meeting minutes from the Joint Select Board School Committee meeting on March 28, 2024, and the Select Board meeting on April 22nd, 2024.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Chuck. All those in favor?
Aye. All right, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved by Matthew, seconded by Gary. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Littleton. See you May 28th.
Peace.